So let's look at the screen to see what we have for the day. I told you yesterday that, day before last week, that we'll be looking at Module 2, Unit 4 and 5 today. Last week, we looked at Unit 1, 2, and 3 that actually focused on reading, speaking, and listening. So, and we saw the reasons why listening, reading are actually very important for you as open and distance learners to be able to have effective learning during the course of your studies. So today we are looking at another thing that is very important as part of our study skills, and that is writing. You know, it's one thing for you to listen, it's another thing to also have the ability for writing. Right. And when we look at that, we are going to see some of the important strategies for effective writing. And also we move on to Unit 5, that is on techniques for effective study. Techniques for effective studies. Especially, these are very important for you as older students to be able to identify what are your study style that is peculiar to you. Do you have anyone specifically that is really peculiar to you, or you have to match 1 or 2 or 3 of them together for you to be able to learn better? So we are going to look at those approaches. We are going to look at those methods. We are going to look at those techniques that will enable you to study. And by the time we are running up this particular discussion, you are going to be able to really derive effective study skills that are really peculiar to you. So, as we often said, this is not a lecture room, it's a discussion room. And since I've given you the assignment to go and read on this Unit 4 and 5, so I want to hear from you. Why is writing very important to you as an open and distant learner? So let's first of all take on writing before we go to the techniques for effective study. So if you want to contribute, you can raise your electronic hands. Yes, I can see Faith. Faith is always want to bell the cat every time. So Faith, good morning. We are talking about writing. So what do you have to say?
Good morning, sir.
Yes, but be short and go straight to the point so that others can also have time to contribute, please.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Can you hear me, sir? Okay, sir.
Yes,
thank you, sir.
I'm hearing you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, we are talking about writing. Of a truth, from what I learned from Unit 4 about writing is for us to have an essential writing skill. Because at times we are writing, even when we are writing, we can speak correctly. But at times when we are writing, we will see that we are missing some past tense with present tense. But when I studied this book, I learned how to write, that's how to put writing into practice. And with constant practice, you will discover that your writing skill will change and it will develop better. And another thing that I learned from this unit is that when you are writing, because there are times you need to communicate to somebody that is in a far distance, your writing should be able to explain the content very well to the understanding of that person you are communicating with. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Faith, for that contribution. She emphasized the need for us to develop writing skills because it's just a way of putting down the ideas that you are storing in your memory down so as for you to have documentation of it. You also talk about the relationship between writing and communication. That when you write, writing is a mode of communication that you can write, and therefore somebody will read what you have written, and therefore it will have a change of life on that particular person. Thank you very much. So let me go to Mr. Sani, and not a man, a woman, a man, a woman, so that we can balance the discussion. Yes, Mr. Sani, you have the floor, but don't repeat what another person has said, please. Go straight to your points. Faith was straightforward. Just don't waste time. Mr. Sani Abdul Malik.
Okay, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Okay, so my contribution is on the types of writing.
Okay.
So according to what I read and understand is that there's many types of writing processes, but it actually depends on the particular issue you want to discuss or convey to the audience. The main purpose of our discussion in this paper focuses mostly on essay writing and also note taking and note making. Under essay, the focus is on descriptive essay, narrative essay, argumentative, and expository essay. The descriptive essay, in that you make a detailed description of how something looks like or what actually happened. And in narrative essay, you tell a story, what actually.
This is your shirt. Is that how you're planning to leave it and go back? No.
That.
No. Turn out the back. If there's no hanger, you can put it in your wardrobe. Most of these clothes that are here, you know, those
idea or issue to be written. When it comes to note taking, actually listen to the teacher, right? What you have heard from him in your own words, not his own words. Making, it deals with the situation whereby you read.
Why they mix up now? No people should know that we are on.
Who is this one that is actually talking?
Okay. It's not making individual. It's an individual study activity whereby you normally do it. In a private study whereby you create your own note according to what you understand with the reference of other books and material. That is my contribution. Thank you very much, sir.
So thank you, Mr. Abdul Malik, for you have shown unto us that we have different types of writing skills and types of writing. So you emphasize that we have descriptive writing, narrative writing, expository writing, and each of them focuses on essay writing, and which you are very, very correct. I agree with you. So in essay writing, your writing can be descriptive, it can be narrative, it can be expository, it can be informative, whatever thing, depending on the kind of message you want to pass across to your hearers or to your readers, that will illuminate the kind of writing that you want to give. Thank you very much, Mr. Abdul Malik. Then Bola Tito, can you come up?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Don't say what other person has said, please.
All right, please. I want to talk on note taking and note making.
Thank you very much.
I see this relating to what very, because in the process of the simulation or during the facilitation, when we listen as a means of part of the skills that we do for our learning, we need to take note. That is when we are listening to during the facilitation. Maybe when somebody make a point and we note it down, that is note taking. So also when we are reading, reading is also one of the skills that we need in distance learning. We also make notes. So there's difference between taking notes and making notes. When we take notes, that is when you are listening to somebody and you are jotting down points that you can get what the person is saying. While when we are studying personally on our own, we make notes. We write down to those points that we can get from it. That's my little contribution, sir.
Thank you very much, Bola Tito. Note taking and note making are not the same thing. When you are taking notes, you are listening to a speaker and you are taking some key points that you need to bring to fore and to bring to, for you to take note of. But when you are making notes, you are doing your own personal reading, and from what you are reading, you are really taking notes. You know, in those days when I was in secondary school, I know about 4 or 5 of our teachers, especially our biology teacher. We just come to the class and you should not write anything and just listening. After that, go back and study and make your notes by yourself. So we now go back to the textbook and we are now going to form our notes by ourselves. No, but there are some that tell you that, okay, you are in the class, please jot down whatever thing that I am saying. So we make notes when the teacher is actually talking, while we take notes when the teacher is talking, make notes when we are doing our own personal study and we are reading the materials that we have for that particular subject matter. So that is different between note making and note. So we are going to take one more person on writing. Mr. Tai Ibrahim. Some people are disturbing us, and if I get you, I'll just remove you in the class. Okay. Yes, Mr. Tai. Mustafa, I thought you raised your hand.
Sir, Lydia Abayomi is raising hand.
Okay, if Tai is not answering us, so Abayomi, can you go ahead?
Thank you, sir. I want to speak on pre-writing stroke outline.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. We need to put down our ideas, and failure to plan our writing before the actual writing exercise will result in poor presentation of materials. So before we do any thesis, we need to write out our ideas so that in this we'll be able to formulate our thesis and our statements. That's the little contribution that I have.
Thank you very much. The writing, that is writing process. That one come under writing process.
Yes, sir.
Right. Writing an outline that after next thing is that you get the outline of what you want to write on. So summarily, let's look at what we have first said. So we are saying that writing is an assignment for a course. When you are writing an assignment for a course, you do a writing. When you are writing an essay, you do a writing. When you are carrying on with your
please, some of you mute your mics.
That was when I said you were not allowed. That's
Evelyn, mute your mic now.
So you're supposed to
mic now.
August meeting.
Wahala, can't we respect? Let's respect ourselves. Even if Prof cannot mute us, let us mute ourselves.
I think the best thing is for Prof to mute everybody making noise. Otherwise, we won't go on. Because I think some people don't know.
If Prof can be muting us from there, I think that would be better.
Please,
They are not enjoying the class because of the noise. The noise is much.
What is going on is that some people are so stubborn that after I've muted all, they will still bring back their microphone. And we are mature. I've muted all several times, and still somebody who is not asked to talk in the class will still mute his or her microphone. Please, let's conduct ourselves. So what we are saying is that when you are writing, you can write, when you are writing answer to your examination questions, that is the only way you can respond to the items of the questions that you are asked. You can also write a time paper. You can write application. You can write article for newspaper. You can write a letter. You can write a story. You can write a play. You can write a novel. You can write a speech for presentation. And of course, in your area of learning or specialization, you can write a textbook. So, and the only thing you want to do in writing is to communicate. So we must take note of that. And that is why somebody said, Faith said that when you want to write, you write to communicate. So that even your reading, your written word will really present something unique and change life, change character, and also pave way for your greater future. Also, when you are writing, we have what we call writing as a process, of discovery. You write so as for you to discover. And that is what we call creative writing. When you are writing with a view to discover new things or to tell other people about the new development or invention that you have brought out, then you write as a discovery. Then writing is also a means of communication when you actually present your ideas, your intuitions, your insights onto people, and you pen down those ideas and make it available for others to learn. Also, somebody was talking about essay writing, and therefore he said that we have different types of essay. You have the descriptive, you have the narrative, you have the expository, you have the informative. So when you are writing essay, then your essay is maybe to describe a phenomenon, to describe an event, or to narrate a story, or also to present your ideas so as for your examiners to actually assess you, and also to bring out some new development. When it is expository, you are actually employing writing to bring out some things that are really very, very unique and in the choice of the area where you are writing. And also somebody was talking about this particular writing process. And the person was talking about pre-writing outline. So for you to write, first of all, what is the title of your writing or your write-up? You select a topic. After you have selected a topic, then you have what we call pre-writing or outline. What are the points you want to write on? You list them in a bullet or numerical form. Then when you have listed all those points, you have a first draft. You write on each point. You're supposed to also show and yourself. Therefore, you write, apart from this, you have the first draft. Then that particular draft, you leave it for some time. When you leave it for some time, then you go back and do what we call revision. When you write something today and you leave it overnight, by the time you are reading it the following morning, you find out that there are some things to still change in that particular writing. So you find out that there must ideas are actually coming in again for you to revise that particular write-up. Then after your revision, you do what we call editing, where you are going to look at your punctuation, your accuracy, where you are going to look at your grammar and everything. So you are now going to the write-up so as for you to make some corrections on what you have written. Then after that, you have your final draft. So that is what you need to do. Then we have steps in writing. steps in writing telling you that you have the title and you have what we call paragraph linkage. When you are writing, your ideas must be in paragraphs. And these particular paragraphs must be so synergized that they link to one another. There's a linkage between, among the paragraph. So paragraph 1 will be linked to paragraph 2 so that somebody who is reading what you have penned down will see that your ideas, the ideas you are presenting is actually flowing through. So you set your paragraph, even in your thesis writing, when you come to your background to the study, you find out that in that particular background to the study, you want to present all the variables of the study in such a way that somebody who read your background will know the variables you have really actually written on. And each paragraph should lead to another so that they will be able to see what really you are writing on. Then there's what we call steps in writing. If you look at your study material, you get this there. And therefore, when you are in paragraphing, when we are talking about paragraph linkage, there are some terms you can use to link your paragraph. There is some that we call to express results. After the first paragraph, you now say, therefore, as a result, consequently, thus, hence, and therefore, maybe because of this particular reason, therefore, this is the result. Therefore, consequently, this is the outcome. Then you can also link paragraph by giving examples. Say, okay, for instance, specifically as an illustration of, for example. Then you can also express paragraph linkage by expressing your comparison. By the time you are presenting an idea, therefore the next idea you want to present is actually negate the first idea or is similar to it. You can say likewise, you can say similarly, or contrary-wise. Then the ideas still flow. Then you can also write to contrast. Yeah? And you can use yet, you can use still, you can use however. Nevertheless, Mrs. Josephine is always coming to the class. And therefore, nevertheless, then we continue. Or Mr. Ade is always, absenting him or herself in the class. But now, this Mr. Ade nevertheless must often submit his assignment. So you can use that and your paragraphing will flow. You can also express sequence. When you say first, second, thirdly, secondly, next, and say finally, when you are giving reasons. And all this will enable you to really do what? To bring your reader to fall, as for them to follow the ideas you are really giving them. Also, you can write to indicate time. When you have descriptive writing or narrative writing that is basically historical, then now, later, meanwhile, since then, after that, before that, all these terms are there for you to use. Then what are the steps in writing? Number 1, you must organize and connect the title. What is the title? Organize it. Even from your title, we may even find out that we see all those things all those keywords that are very germane to your writing. We can see it from your title. And from your title, we can easily know on what you are really writing. Then after your title is your introduction. Your introduction is very, very important. Somebody will like to write and read your book by reading just your preface, which is the introduction, or your first paragraph of your writing will either attract or actually, reject people from reading your work. Then your introduction must be enticing. You write introduction to entice your reader, so as for your reader to wanting to read more. Then you have the main body. The main body is when you really write every point you want to put into the writing. And of course, after your main points, your main body, you do your conclusion. And your conclusion must bring in the summarized inference of the whole writing that you have really done. Then you need to ensure unity and coherence when you are writing. Unity is very, very important. You need to be coherent, and therefore your ideas must be united. You are not going to be writing so as for your ideas to be disjointed. And as your readers are reading, they will not really see the flow of how you are really writing. So when you go back to your material, you see more of these particular points on writing. So let's quickly go to techniques for effective study, and that is Unit 5. Techniques for effective studies. So what have you read on this? So before I summarize, do you have anything to say on techniques for effective study? Yes? If you want to take us on this technique, Mr. Joseph John. Mr. Joseph.
Hello, sir. Good morning, sir.
You are from which study center?
Ijumu Community Study Center, Kogi State.
Is there any Ijumu?
Iyara, okay, it's Iyara.
And we don't have Ijumu in our list of study centers.
Exactly. Iyara is Ijumu local government. I'm sorry for that.
So how is Dr. Aina over there?
He's fine. She's fine.
Okay. Study center director.
Sir.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Sir, study means learning. Hello, sir.
Continue, please.
Okay, study means learning. We learn to gain knowledge. We have various types of learners. We have the visual learners. The visual learners, they learn with the aid of a picture. They use picture to remember what they have studied. Then we have the oral learner. They learn by listening. There are some people, once they listen, they are okay with that. Don't need to just they're okay with that. Then we have the verbal learner. They read and then they jot points down. We have the tactile learner. They learn by doing it, by practicing what they are learning. So that's okay.
Mr. John.
Well done, sir.
Among these learners, who are you among them? Who are you? Which type of learner are you?
Okay, I'm a oral learner, yes.
Okay, can you tell us why you learn better when you listen?
Yes. When I listen to lecture, in fact, during exams, it's just for me to reflect back on what I've listened to. So listening, when I listen to lectures during exam, it's just for me to reflect back to what I've listened to. And with that, I'm okay.
Very much. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you.
So Mr. John has told us about different types of learners that we have. Vis-a-vis your study skill. That is the area we want to look at. And he has told us that we have visual learner, we have auditory learner or oral learners, we have tactile or kinesthetic learners, we have verbal learners, and he's telling visual learners, and he's telling us that of a truth, for him, he is an auditory learner, wherein he enjoys listening to voice, to get information, to get being lectured. And when he listens during the exam, he will reflect on what he had had at one time or the other on those areas of concept on which questions are actually asked. Oh, that's wonderful. Lillian, which learner are you, Lillian?
Yes, sir. I'm a visual learner, sir.
Yeah, can you explain?
Yes, sir. In visual learning, it requires the learner to learn with images, pictures, graphs, and maps. So if you're a visual learner, it means that I can use points using diagram to indicate the main point of my understanding, or apply it on the graph if I'm somebody that like geographical things, I can actually use map to be able to dictate or pinpoint those important points that can remind me when I'm studying.
Okay. Mrs. Fua, you are good. She is a visual learner and is telling us that as a visual learner, she loves studying with diagrams, studying with pictures, studying with visual things that will really enable her to remember what she had actually learned. And she did mention that she even bullets the points to make a sort of bullet points that will enable her to remember some key things when she's actually studying. So thank you very much, Lillian. Then I go to...
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Yes, I want to see your hands if you want to contribute. If you don't raise your hands. Okay, Rita, I can see your hands. Please let us hear you.
Okay, what I have learned from this unit was...
What type of learner are you and why?
Okay, I am a visual learner as well, but I make use of, I particularly like things that I see and can easily recall. So when I study, I take notes of points, I draw charts or make up diagrams that I can use to easily recall what I have read. So basically that's how I study as a visual learner.
It's okay. As a visual learner, you love to see diagrams and you arrange your points in a diagrammatic way so as for you to remember the point. Yes, Mr. Adedeji Adetula. Who are you as a learner?
Okay, sir. My contribution is I think it's very okay for someone to be, I don't know if it's possible, I think it's okay for someone to be a multi-purpose learner because we might find ourselves in any educational setting. Different lecturers have their different strengths. Some might be able to teach well and you'll be able to hear. Some might use the diagram. So I think it's okay if one adapts the different learning methods so that in case if a lecturer is lacking somewhere, one will be able to catch up. So I think I'm a multi-purpose learner, sir.
Thank you very much. That's the last point. That's the summary. So you are a multi-purpose learner, wherein you learn better when you use the connections between 2 or 3 learning styles, because you will be able to get it. If you look at my slide, I put those slides there. You see diagrams and also in some of my slides. And you see weddings. You see bullet points. So I want to ensure as a teacher, taking note of different kinds of learners that I have, that somebody who cannot read my slide well can look at the picture I used to represent each of those terms. And when you look at those terms, you can say, oh, this term is actually, if you look at this one now, it's talking about writing. If you look at this one now, it's talking about effective study. So from the diagram, you can easily grasp what actually this particular person is talking about. And for those that cannot read through the graph, the diagram, the person can read the wordings of what I've actually put down. If you look at this one, for instance, if you look at this slide, we are talking about creative writing. And I use a sort of diagram for you to know that, yes, when you are talking about writing as a process, you are talking about creative writing and they have steps. And this one is representing writing as a means of communication. And I told you that, communication is an exchange of information between two people. And you can see, the decoding and encoding of the information between these particular people that are actually seated together to communicate, to speak, to talk, and to exchange ideas. So there are some students that we only remember this kind of diagram during exams. And also there are some that we just remember that, they said writing is a means of communication, and it was presented as a bullet point in a slide when we were having our facilitation. So all these particular things are actually brought together so as for you to be able to derive who are you and what are you as a learner and how you can really learn best. So I want to take Mr. Yusuf. Mr. Yusuf, Michelia, let us see your face very well.
Okay, Sam. I am a tactile learner when it comes to...
Sorry, you are from which study center?
Maiduguri Study Center.
Yeah, Maiduguri.
Maiduguri is fine, we bless God.
Okay, well done.
Yeah, when it comes to practical courses that has to do with practical, I am a tactile learner. I enjoy putting those things that I read in practice, more especially like in electronics, because I have a background in electrical engineering. So I like implementing the theory that I learn into practice, and it gives me joy. And that thing stick to my memory long. But when it comes to things that has to do with theory, I am a verbal learner. I enjoy reading and also writing. When I read and I understand the concept, I will keep my book aside and then write it down to see how I am able to put those information that I have learned into practice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The tactile and verbal learner. So he's telling us, he explained what we mean by kinesthetic or tactile learning. And this is a learner that he learns by doing. That's just the word. This tactile learner learns by doing things. In your house, you have your children, you will always see this particular child sitting in the corner, working with objects, playing with objects, arranging objects. Even some of them will carry your phone and go to one corner, open it, and they want to see what is there. They will carry your transistor radio. They want to see the person that is actually talking inside the radio. They want to pieces it. So, they like doing things. And there are some disciplines that actually involve doing, that are practical in nature, that are psychomotor in nature, that are mechanical in nature, wherein it involves movement of any of your body and manipulating any of your body to be able to do that particular thing. So such a learner, if you now ask such a learner to come and sit down to be telling stories, such a learner will not actually learn. Such a learner will not like it. Such a learner will be sleeping in the class because he enjoys working with objects. So such a learner is called a tactile or kinesthetic learner. And he also told us that he also enjoys reading as a verbal learner. Though as an engineer, he loves doing things, he also loves reading materials, reading textual materials. And through that, he can actually get information that he really wants. So thank you very much, Mr. Michel, for that a wonderful contribution. Before I summarize, is there any lady that is actually raising hand? Okay, if there is none, I want Ms. Onoja, sir.
There is, sir. AJ Esther, sir.
AJ Esther, you don't raise your hand. Okay, I can see your hand now. Yes, I can see it. Yes, I can see it now. Can we see your face? Can we see your face? Okay. We only see the top of your head.
Okay, sir, can you see me now?
We are not even seeing you again at all.
Sir, can you see me?
Yes, we are seeing you now.
Oh, good morning, everyone.
You are from which study center?
We want to contribute that I am a learner with others.
just the way we are doing right now. I understand better. During exam, I recall on what we have discussed together like this. It comes to my memory quickly than any other one. Then also by learning by doing. Like, for example, if I carry on any practical in the lab, it retains in my memory than when I am reading it from the book, because I practicalize it, so I understand better. That is the little I want to contribute.
Thank you very much, Mrs. AJ, for such a wonderful contribution. So let's quickly look at what we have actually, let's summarize what we have said. All of you are good, and therefore you have really done the job. And just to summarize, we said that we have learning types. We have the visual, we have the auditory, we have the kinetic, and we also have the verbal learner. And you can see that as a visual learners, you look at things, when you see something, that thing will retain more on you. So you like seeing things. So people say seeing is believing. So we also have the auditory learner that you use your ears to hear. When you listening to somebody speaking, explaining, you do what? You get it better. Then there are some of us that, as Mrs. AJ said, that he like, studying by doing. And she is a kinesthetic learner, kinesthetic learner. She is a tactile learner, wherein she's actually doing things. And there are some disciplines like that you cannot do without actually doing what? Without really doing it. Just like if you are into home shop materials, you say you want to learn how to bake bread or how to bake cake, and therefore you are not saying, let me go and read it, and therefore you are reading, or they draw a picture of how to do it. So that one alone cannot do. You have to do what? You have to practice it. So she says she likes practicing something. So if your area of study involves, any of our courses may involve you practicalizing, experimenting, demonstrating, then you have to be a tactile learner. And as a verbal learner, you like to speak, you like to listen to other people, you like to communicate. As a verbal learner, when you teach others, when you express yourself, you will always remember what you have actually talked about at one time or the other. So aside these, we have some techniques for effective study. So we have so for you to study effectively, you watch your note taking. How do you take notes in the class? I can see some of us, as we are discussing now, they have their pen and paper beside them, and some of us are jotting down some things, while others are just listening. So you must be able to take notes. Then you can also learn by heart. There are some people that are very good in memorizing materials. They memorize. Yes, memorization is also good, but this memorization at times may not actually show that you really understand. Some of us will say, just let me memorize my course material. At least all the questions will come from the course material. And you memorize the material, and whether the question is in line with what you have memorized or not, you just put down those things. So, but what we are saying is that there are some courses that actually afford you to learn by heart, to memorize, to commit things into your memory. You can also learn with others. As other students, you can get one or two of your course mates together and therefore have discussion. You can discuss among yourself. And during this discussion, don't be a passive member of the group. You must also explain to others. As we are doing now, I'm not the only one talking. You yourself, you talk. You tell us what you know, and we share together. What you have told us now, if I ask you now, somebody say, I am a tactile learner, and there's a question on tactile learning in the exam, she will be able to remember what she has said in this class. That is the thing. So that is what we mean, that explain to others is also, part of learning. So don't keep ideas. Even the ideas you are keeping may be wrong ideas. And if you don't show your ignorance or stupidity in contributing, when you now take that stupidity or foolishness to the class, to the exam, and you are now going to write that particular point down in the exam, your examiner will mark you down. So there are some that actually use audiovisual, and they use microphone, they use a computer that gets images, they watch television, they listen to radio, and so on. Those ones, they are also audiovisual learners. They use both audio and visual to learn. And therefore, we have some people that learning by doing, and those are the tactical part of learners. So you must identify who you are. That's the thing. Who are you as a learner? And be able to maximize that particular learning style that really, that are really peculiar to you. So that is what is going to make you to be an effective learner. So be an effective learner, there are some techniques you need to also derive. We have what we call inductive and deductive learning, in which some of us we learn from general to specific, while others learn from specific to general. So when you are an inductive learner, you want to look at something from a general perspective. And from there now, you have what? You bring in a key point. But there are some that like to expand in a point, and therefore by the time they start from specific, they now generalize and they now expand that particular point. Also, you must know how to study for tests and for exams. That's the thing. You also learn when you also do what? Write tests. You learn when you do what we call mock exams. It is not the final exam, but you use that particular test and mock exam to prepare yourself for the ultimate exam. Then you look at the length of the study periods and deadline. When you are studying, you should study according to the duration that is available unto you. And when you are writing assignment, you write assignment and submit the assignment within the timelines that are given unto you. When you are studying, you look at your environment. Your environment is very, very important. If you are studying in a noisy place, in a distracting place, as some of us are complaining now that people are disturbing us in this class, let us mute them. So when your environment is distracting, you will not be able to concentrate. But there are some that also learn when in silence and also learn when there is music. Some will say, I learn best when I'm actually listening to my best music. Yes, you cannot say that that person is not learning because he has actually identified the mode of his studying. Also, some people will say, well, I learn when I'm in a silent environment. So we are not judging anybody. It's for you to know who you are. Some people will go to party and they will still have their jotting notes. As the musicians is playing and people are dancing, they are still reading and they are still learning. And therefore, what they are learning is still what? Is still really sinking into them. Then some people say, well, it is in my workplace that I can learn better. I learn better in my working place. Because maybe in that working place, he has AC in the office, the environment is conducive, and therefore, after the working of the day, let me take 1 hour before I go home. And he will lock himself inside the office and learn. Then there are some people want to actually learn with other people. As an older student, nobody is restricting you that this is the type you must actually, you must engage yourself in. You are the one to know which one is the best for you. If working alone, if studying alone is the best for you, maximize it and learn. But also, there are some that say, let me also work with my friends. So, and when you identify your friends among your mates, then you can also learn with them. So I want to thank you very much for this particular wonderful discussion. I will take 2 questions and therefore we are going to round off for the day so that I can release you to go with the jolly of the weekend that I'm disturbing you on. So 2 questions.
Hello, doctor. Hello,
yes.
Prof. Good morning, sir.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Otobong.
Good
morning, Professor.
Please, let's listen to Mr. Iwat.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor, for the audience. And once again, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
while we understand that we all have different learning methods, my question is humbly and respectfully to you, the professor, in your own way and based on your experience you have gathered all through years, can you form a base of suggestion to we as students, to either primary school teachers, secondary school teachers, or university lecturers, which is the best method you can advise the organization to tilt their policy towards to achieving the purpose for which they are set?
Thank you very much, Mr. Nwat.
Thank you, sir.
In open and distance learning, we are giving you so many avenues to learn. This is one of them. Bringing you together in facilitation to discuss. Some people will learn better like this. Also, we give you course materials to go and read on your own. And therefore, when you go study, you take your course material and you do what? You also listen. Then another thing is that, this particular facilitation class is recorded. You can still go back and play back this particular recording video, which I'm placing on your course material, course page, online course page. You can also go back there and re-listen to our discussion. So we cannot say this is the best. Are you getting me?
Yes,
we can only provide different avenues, knowing fully well that we have different characteristics as learners. And we will try as much as possible to ensure that we present your material, your content in several ways that we fit to any of the learning skill or learning method that you enjoy. So it now behoves on you as a learner to choose which one is actually best for me. But as you are saying, a recommendation or prescription as a doctor, I want to prescribe to you, don't actually, use only one learning style. Maximize as much as possible to do what? To gain better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, last question.
Hello, doctor.
Excuse me,
Elizabeth.
when you were talking about...
Please, if I don't call you, don't talk.
Okay, sir.
Mrs. Elizabeth, I say, Mrs. Elizabeth Osage, any question? Okay. Bola Tito, any question?
Good morning once again, sir. This is Bola Tito, sir.
Yeah.
Please, I don't actually understand the inductive technique for effective study.
Okay.
I will appreciate if you can just brush it up a little, sir. Thank you, sir.
If you are an inductive learner, we have some materials. Okay, let me take it this way. If I say GST807 students are mostly women, some students are very, very stubborn, though they are adults. So, sorry for that, but let me say this. If I make these three statements, listen, GST803 students, 807 students are mostly women. Bola Tito is a woman. Therefore, what can we deduce from Bola Tito? Is Bola Tito part of 807 students? Bola Tito? Please,
yes,
unmute
sir.
yourself and answer my question.
Yes,
please.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. I say all women in the 807 student class are brilliant. And Bola Tito is a woman. Then we conclude that Bola Tito is a what? Is brilliant.
Brilliant. All right, sir.
So that is inductive. I generalize. From the generalization now, I now bring out specific thing. So inductive learning means when you start your studying by reading several material on the same subject, and at the end of the day, from what did you conclude on? What can you infer? What is the inference you are actually taking home from all these things that you have studied? That is inductive. But when you are doing deductive, you start from the inference. You now say, okay, why is, generally speaking, you may say, okay, in this particular class, people often interfere with the class by omitting themselves. So that is the inference we have drawn from this class. There are a lot of interference during GST807 facilitation. That is already inferences. Now, we now want to seek for why that one is so. We're not giving several reasons. That is deductive.
Deductive, all right, sir.
Yes. So when you start from specific to general, you are deducting. When you are starting from general to specific, you are actually an inductive learner. So I want to thank you very much for this particular discussion today. So all things being equal,
thank you, sir.
It's likely we are going to meet here on Friday.
Thank you, sir.
If there's going to be any change, ensure that you do your participate in the discussion forum. Please, I've once told you that discussion forum is your third TMA. So participate in it, please. If not, you will lose 10 marks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
nice
you, Prof, for enjoying with us.
Thank you, sir.
Enjoy your weekend,
Have
sir.
a nice
Bye.
weekend.
Your weekend,
Have a
sir.
wonderful
Thank you very much, sir.
God bless you,
Bye.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Prof.